Well, what's the crack, everybody? How are you getting on? And welcome to another episode of Cracked Rugby. You all right? How you doing? Supposed to have a guest today again, but you know what? The rugby season is kicking off. All the best guests that I lined up, they keep on getting taken by Premier Sports and whatnot, but I'm not going to complain. It's all right. We'll have plenty more season to get people on anyway. So, yeah, no, from time to time, these things happen. But sure, look at to be grand. How are you keeping? Rugby is hotting up, isn't it? It is Wednesday, the 13th of October, 2021. It is getting good. It's starting to shape up now, isn't it? You know, first couple of game nerves are out of the system. It's the same every single year when you watch it. You're going, are we going to do anything? Is there going to be anything this year worth looking at after literally one game? And of course there is. Of course there is every single time. It's, you know, it takes the time to bed in, but you do like, not that it's time to get worried, you know, if your team isn't sorting their shit out, but at the same time, when you see the others have been, it shouldn't be something that should creep up in you. But also, like, you know, I suppose bedding in periods for new coaching staff, which is something in the Premiership must be, geez, I mean, it must be hard. The flip over of staff and the likes of the Premiership and in France and stuff like that. And even, you know, you saw Munster prior to Van Graan coming on the scene, like it must be tough just to kind of get your head in the game, players switching out and stuff like that. To actually stick to one program where you get nice and settled. You know, listen, it's like a new career every time. Yes, you can get slightly better, but as a team, you kind of need to all bed in together over a couple of seasons. It's rare you see it click for an entire season. You know, albeit, okay, Ronan O'Gara did pretty fucking well last season, but, you know, second album, I suppose, what would you call it? The curse of the second album. Although, I mean, he's 10th, I think, La Rochelle are 10th. They may find their form yet, but he wasn't shy of giving a few bollockings live on air the other day, which is great to see. It's like, yeah, we did fine today, but that last match, not good enough. Even after winning that last match, load of shit. We wouldn't want to be going back there, which is something you never hear from coaches, so it's a bit on the refreshing side. I know what. We had no real international rugby at the weekend. I'm sure there was somebody playing somebody, but there was nothing really to talk of. But in all fairness, there has been no shortage of club rugby going on. Crashed. Plenty of it. Some sensational stuff, some not so sensational stuff. But this is, of course, if your first time coming to the podcast, if you're listening, there's, of course, the full video is up on my YouTube page as well. So if you have a gander in the show notes, I'll put it in the show notes there where you can get the link to all the Cracked Rugby episodes if you physically want to see my face where I show up. I do show up a best mullet of the week, and I do show up the clatter of the week. You want to see which one I have, or I will post them up on my social. So there isn't a social for Cracked Rugby yet. I'll wait. We're a bit more established before I have a bit of. Maybe I should early doors. Maybe I'm not embracing the social side of things, but yeah, I've fucking enough going on. I've plenty of them. Because of course there is my long-standing podcast, which this one, I suppose, is technically in association with. It's with Buckshot Podcast, where I have weekly guests from all walks of life. And another one out this Friday with a very, very good friend and long-time comedian. And he was on early doors, so go check that one out as well. There is, of course, if you want to follow me, Tom O'Mahony Comedy, we'll pretty much find you everywhere. Yeah, find you where you need to be going. You'll pretty much find me. So just to keep a track on those things, if you just purely listen audio-wise, you go, I'll go check out which hit he's talking about or which mullet he's talking about. Sometimes I want to see that fella's face and see who the hell is talking to me. Well, go have a gander. Thank you very much for anybody who got in contact over the last week or two. Brilliant. Lovely. Lads sending me on little clips there. I like that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm self-producing this as it is myself. So it's always great to get as much as possible. There's some great rugby podcasts out there. This one is a bit loosey-goosey, a bit lighter. I may get things completely wrong, but there'll be very little facts throughout it. Getting into, today we'll do a little bit on the Premiership as well, because we didn't have much in the way of international stuff and whatnot to talk about. But of course, it is mostly based around the home provinces here in Ireland. And up first was Leinster. We're playing Zebra. And listen, there was a bit of a surprise last week when, they like 7-6 when they should have been absolutely hammering them out the gate. But this one was back to Leinster's fight. Now they came fairly. I won't say they weren't full noise, but fuck me, they had a lot of decent players up. They had the likes of Johnny Sexton back, who almost featured in Clatter of the Week. He got melted. Well, he got stopped fairly flat on the line, and your man saw a yellow because he lifted his leg slightly. I thought Johnny made a small bit of a meal of it. In fairness, he didn't get that hurt. Like he was bigger than your man. So, but at the same time, almost featured in Clatter of the Week until you see the one I'm talking about. It's an absolute peach and almost illegal, but right on the line of it. Yeah, I mean, they were back to hammering them out the door, but they're just relentless. And I think an awful lot of it is stemming from McGrath at 9. He's playing out of his skin. He's so fast. There's no shouting, roaring out of him or nothing, and which I appreciate from the likes of Craig Casey, and I appreciate it from lads who do that. But he goes about his business so quick. So quick. I worked on a job briefly with his old man. His old man is a very, very tasty truck and crane driver. And he's a no messing bloke himself. And you could see where he gets it. Luke gets it. I have to say, for me, that's where it's stemming from. And they don't see, they're talking about everybody outside him and everybody ahead of him. I don't think there's been enough chat about him, and I know young Doak above an Ulster, they're getting very excited by the prospects of what he can bring to a game and his follow lines and stuff like that, following Dupont, the style of Dupont, where they're saying, every good, scrum half should be doing that. Yeah, well, literally every breakdown should have the scrum half there. And if it doesn't break down, they get an offload. Who should be there? The scrum half. I mean, I don't know where the rocket science of it comes from, but sometimes when you see a ruck break down and the scrum half wasn't at the last one. Now, Munster tried it a bit last year, in all fairness, where they were letting other people go in scrum half, which is grand. But realistically, like the fellow who trains at it all week, you should probably let him at it. But yeah, I mean, I never fully understand why your scrum half is bogged down in other parts of the field if they weren't actually tied up in the previous ruck. Fucking me, fell on it, So for me, I think he's kind of the key at the minute. Adam Byrne back 2 seasons out. I actually saw him at a show I was hosting a couple of weeks back, and it gives you an appreciation just how godlike he is. Like, he's ridiculously good looking, in unbelievable nick. He's just walking around like 6'3", and you're like, Jesus Christ. I mean, you would have been a second row, 30 years ago, and this guy's out in the wing. You're like, fucking hell, tonight. Trying to stop that now would be some dose. But he's back. He got 2 tries at the weekend, which is great for, Jesus Christ, any fella out for 2 seasons. Just like Dan Levy, who's back and he's horsing into it. But again, like I said about the last day, he, where do you put him now? Look at the candidates that are in front of him. Even in Leinster, where will he start there? Will he get back? He'll have to get back to better than what he was to really, and Zebra did get a try. Like, the game finished 43-7, and it was dead and buried, and Zebra did get a try. But man, it was a class. It was actually a class, but like, when you're hocking him out the gate like that, it's not good. It's never going to be good for the competition. It's never going to be good for Zebra. It's, of course it is Leinster, who are doing it, but they were just relentless. And I mean, Lamour, I think Lamour score as well. Lamour, I don't know, is it Lamour? Lamour. Apparently he plays the piano as well, which is absolutely sickening. Probably an amazing dancer and singer on top of that too. He's definitely a good dancer. Look at his feet. He looks an unbelievable nick. Bit of a beard on him. Looks class. Just looking absolutely mint. Anyway, totally mint. But yeah, like, what? I mean, Zebra weren't even at the races, and they never are. They never are. So thank Christ, some of the South African teams are actually pulling up their socks. And this week round now, they're taking a few scalps this week round. This time round, so I mean, they didn't take any of the didn't take any scalp off any of the Irish teams, so grand. But they're taking a few scalps in Wales and whatnot, and so it's good to see them bucking the trend a small bit, because like, It ain't no good for anybody. But I'm not saying it's good for the competition. I want to see our teams, in particular, being honest, Munster. I want to see them win every single week, beat everybody by 60 points. But the truth be told, that's shag all used to you when it comes to European Championship, because all of a sudden you're meeting the likes of the French teams who've been on even keel, the likes of the Premiership teams who are on even keel every week, beating the shit out of each other. And you get in there and it's proven to catch fellas cold a small bit, like, and you're having to do it the hard way, then getting beaten first time round, and then you got to play all your if you do get through, you end up playing away in your quarterfinal and stuff. So it's great to see that there's a small bit coming now. Granted, the Irish teams got him first week out and battered the shit out of him, but it's good. Albeit, I'm saying that now, Munster nearly got, the first half last week, but they did readjust. So that was Leinster 43-7, absolutely on the road again, kicking the living shit out of them. They have Scarlets next week, which I suppose I may as well get talking about it. Jesus. Yeah, which, I mean, segues beautifully into how Munster played Scarlets. Now, I don't see Scarlets as being as bad. Now, okay, Munster looked, you can only play what's in front of you. I mean, and I know it's an old adage and all the rest of it, but I guess Munster could have beaten them, 24-13. They bet them 41-13 in a trouser pull down, which nobody expected because they had three Lions. They had three Lions in their squad. And Jonathan Davis, and a former Lion, out in they looked at sea. I can only put it down to their coaching or their fitness or something. They looked at sea. Now, a lot of people are saying, 10 changes to the Munster team. Jesus Christ, lads, are you joking me? And it was like these fellas all had a point to prove. They all had a point to prove. They were all like, nah, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm not bound down to the next guy up. No, I should be the next guy up. And every single one of them looked like that. Man, Liam Coombs, who's typically a winger, I think, he's out putting on a bit of timber. He's there at 13. And I mean, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. If it was down to him and Earlsey at 13, you know who you'd go with. Like, I mean, that pickup, there was a chip through after an unbelievable break by Jack O'Donoghue. There was a chip through. Like, Jack O'Donoghue just looks like that's Mr. Gilmore's jacket when he runs. Do you know there's a big you imagine him making that sound if you had a ref mic, if you had the mic on him, like well, boy, wow, as he's running up the field, because he just all head and fucking arms and legs and everything. But man, he can travel, and man, is he a strong unit, like just busting fella. He chips it through, and Liam Coombs and Jonathan Davies were both going for the ball, heading back the way, and Davies dived for it, Coombs dived for it, left his left paw out and just snatched it in the air like Gaelic football style or goalie style, slid in over the line. I knew he was going to hit the post, but actually allowed the slide and then just spun around like a fella on a little toboggan or something. Spun around, missed the post and dived over the line. It was like coolest shit ever. So they really did. They took it. They took their opportunity. All 10 changes. All the young lads took their opportunity. Calvin Nash looks strong, man. See, he bucking lad, like he did that little fucking goose step, show and go, pump the ball back in, and then fuck that, handed your man off like he was nothing for Coombs' first try. Then his own try. I mean, I said it 2 weeks ago. Ben Healy isn't bound down to anybody. I don't think Ben Healy gives a fuck that Joey Carberry's there. I don't think he cares that Johnny Sexton is the dream starter for Ireland. I don't think he gives a shit that there's the Burns brothers or Byrne above him. I don't think he cares about Jack Carty. I think genuinely, by the look of it, I know what not cockiness, but just confidence looks like. And I'm telling you here now, Ben Healy has his sights on the Ireland jersey, not just the Munster starting jersey. And it's up to all the rest of them. Right now, it's up to Joey to show. Because next week, I'd be starting Ben Healy. I can't see why. You know what I mean? Unless you're really, I know what we saw from Joey back in the day, like when he beat Gloucester that time. It was like, well, this is Stardust written all over it. But if you were just a pragmatist and didn't care about emotions, and but then that's man management too. But right now, on the charts, from 10 to 1, Joey's at 5, and Healy's at like 8.5, 9. That's just where it's at. So tough shit. And that's what rugby is all about. That's what professional sports is all about. It's not about fucking... I think he deserves it more. Fuck that. Healy pulled off 2 passes that you'd only... Like, if it was Finn Russell pulled them off or Joey pulled it off, every radio station would be blown up Monday morning. But because he's a little on the unknown side and he's not the prince that was promised, i.e. like Joey, where there was big controversy, him coming down from Leinster that time. This guy's Munster born and bred. He puts out 2 passes over the, like that for Nash's to take off there for Coombs' try. He puts like a 30-meter pass on. Just swings it on out. Perfect. And then for Nash's own try, he puts it straight over down the side, maybe 15 meters, puts it over at three sets of fucking Scarlett's hands and pin perfect. Just like the last guy almost got his hands on it, but just pin perfect at full pace. Nash catches it, dives in over the line. He had a bit of work to do, looked cool when he got it, but he would have been nowhere if it wasn't for that, you know? And both times, not to not mention him, would be Sean Cronin's brother, Neely Cronin, who was a fucking teacher 3 years ago and taken out of obscurity, thought he was going to be playing the AIL forever and was given a contract. I love hearing that shit. Big injury, makes it back. And 2 of the tries, kind of shit you wouldn't see. I love it. It's an absolute evolution of not following the trend. No scrum half is doing what he did at the weekend. Like the fake, yes, you can dummy pass, but nobody buys it. Like for that 2 times, he absolutely sold, like that time in particular for Liam Coombs' try. If you go back and watch it, he actually runs off to the left to pass it, but just turns and spins it on the spot, which sends all the Scarlets defenders into a bit of a fucking, oh, Jesus, we better run over here, but just turns and spins it out to the right to Healy. Sure, of course, the gap had opened up at that stage. Everybody's on the wrong foot. Same when it came to Healy's 50-22 that he got early doors. Put everybody going the wrong way. And then all of a sudden just popped it up. It was a thing of beauty. A lot of lads stood up too, the likes of Thomas Ahern, all of them putting on the footwork, like big fellas like Thomas Ahern. He's 6'9", like doing footwork and getting that extra meter or 2. That shit is not easy to do at any height, let alone being that, but he did, you see his hands there a couple of times. You're like, that's not the hands of a fucking second row forward. That's the hands of what a lad who used to be fullback. Imagine a 6'9" fullback. I mean, they should have left him back there for showtime. Do you know what I mean? Somebody who's 6'9", if you could look after him, make him shit hot at fullback, who wouldn't want to watch him? Because it's the freak show, for the want of a better phrase. You want to see somebody who's just so out of normality in the position at fullback. Why wouldn't you? You sure as shit aren't kicking the ball over his head, and if he's got a decent boot on him, which he did kick at one stage, Jesus. And even like a lot of these lads, I think they're just being left run wild, and it's beautiful to see. Cloete got one of his many rips. Listen, I mean, there's no point in even talking about the man. Like he must have broken records last season. He's broken he got was it 4 or 5 he got during that match, just ripping down over the ball, ripping it off you, because he's just built like a fucking rhinoceros. Rips it, gives it to Barron. Barron, keeping in mind, is a fucking hooker. Sidestepping lads all over the place and then puts a fucking boot through. It's beautiful stuff. Deserved to finish in a try, albeit, everybody get a little overrun and it ended up on the deck. But all out. As some fucker, Tom Price, your man came on. He must be a big fan of Valentino Rossi, is he? Does anybody spot this? They were going out of he comes on. I think he's like a 7 or second row or something. Or maybe he was a back row for Scarlets. And he comes on wearing number 46. Who's 46? I don't know. Maybe that's a number in American football that I'm missing. But I think, was Valentino Rossi, they called him the doctor. Somebody can correct me on that one. Or maybe somebody can fill me in. I'm guessing it's got something to do with American football because it sounds like more of a political thing. I don't think if you just were a fan of the doctor, as he was known, he was MotoGP, I think, isn't it? Is that MotoGP? He was world champion a bunch of times. Valentino Rossi. I think he raced Ducati, and his number was number 46. You see sometimes rednecks putting it on their car and stuff like that in appreciation from him. I don't know if it was that. I don't know how you put that. How do you put that request in? I'm guessing, like, I should have probably looked it up, but I would prefer if somebody could fill me in. Number 46. Why did Tom Price have that on his back at the weekend? I'd be delighted if you could let me know. A lot of forward passes from the Scarlets. That was something that never came up. It's like I counted 5 absolute forward passes. Counted 5, and of course the big screen was broken, so it was like, should we not kind of? I don't know what was going on. It's like, are we fucking joking? And I've spotted a few of them in a couple of other games, and it seems to be once one law gets fucking tweaked or pushed up, other things like putting into the scrum or putting into the lineout seems to go out the fucking window. There was 5 forward, like absolute forward passes by this, and I'm sure there was, I think there was 1 or 2 by Munster as well, but there was absolutely 5 nailed on forward passes by Scarlets at the weekend. Would it have made a difference in the scoreline? Probably not. But at the same time, you're like, or maybe, sometimes like, if that thing is marginal and nothing comes from it, maybe lay them off when you're getting beaten 41-13. But I tell you, the young boys have put their fucking hands up. A lot of them there put their hands up. And for me, I think, okay, you're not going to see, Coombs left off for, Jack O'Sullivan, even though he had a cracking game and he looks the real deal. But at the same time, I know RG Snyman, fucking hell, imagine that. Like 15 months out, you're just coming back, then you get fucking burnt and have to get skin grafts after being at a fucking party. And you make it back and then you rupture your fucking ACL again, or whatever it was, his cruciate again. Like, I don't know, will he make it back? Is he going to be out for another 2 seasons again? Fucking hell, man. Sickener for him after showing up so fucking much at the weekend, like previous, turning up with that fucking unbelievable try. But the only thing positive is he'll be there. You're looking at your man Thomas Ahern. He ain't no slouch. Tyke Byrne does have to come back. John Klein is already there. You've Feeney Wycherley, who's all about him and the brother. Jesus, just stopping fellas dead. So it isn't the absolute end of the world, and your man did get to see that he was able to make it back. So there is a, light at the end of the tunnel again, but tough. Ulster kind of beat the shit out of Benetton. It was I think it was 28-8. Was it 28-8? I don't even have it written down, but it's in my head here, 28-8. A lot of crossfield kicks. A lot of jinky kind of kicks seem to be coming into the game. I don't know, is that a result of the 50-22 thing or whatever? Can't really see how it is, but a lot of fellas are style of football, like Gaelic football style, threading through little kicks that you wouldn't normally see before, like a lot of chips through, which I love because it's such a skill. And it's panic stations. I love it because it actually, it'll fire up a game. There's more this season than I've ever seen before. And what it does is it fires up a fucking game. Do it gives it a right of fucking panic stations. Defenders are turning backwards. The attackers are trying to thread themselves through without knocking anybody out of the way. Like, it's hectic in that moment. So I'm loving some of the chip throughs and the crossfield kicks. But that Billy Burns one for Craig Gilroy, it was beautiful. And Craig Gilroy, I tell you something, he's a bit of a, what would you call it, Renaissance man. He's still looks shit hot out there. Still scoring tries, still set up a bunch of people last weekend. So he looked shit hot. I don't know if he's going to set the world alight. Like, is he it's hard to gauge him against fucking Benetton, but at the same time, it was, he's nailed on his place anyway in Ulster, but there's still, you need him there when you have some pups inside him. Like, so at the same time, I don't know. He's playing some serious stuff. He's positioning. That's what comes with age. You may lose a yard or two or whatever, as they say, like, but positioning and knowing where to be really comes to the fore when you have a few miles up on the clock. Cuteness, absolute rugby cuteness kicks in. And that's what Craig Gilroy has. He knew to go, give a little Burnsy out here. I don't know if they had a penalty coming. They possibly did, but at the same time, fair foxed him. It looked the part. But in all fairness, like, I know I was kind of saying about Doak, I wasn't talking him down or anything. Neil, is it Neil Doak? Is his name, or Nathan Doak? His old man obviously played for Leinster for a year, or for Ulster for years. He, shit hot. Like, again, it's hard to kind of gauge against the likes of Benetton because it's fucking Benetton, and they're playing in the Kingspan Stadium. But at the same time, he gets 2 tries. Your scrum half getting 2 tries. He's big, he's big. He's Conor Murray big, so it's great to see it. It's great. He's got a shit ton of traffic to get through between the likes of McGrath, Craig Gilroy, or Craig Casey. Who themselves? Who started? Paddy Patterson, I think, started at the weekend. Was it Paddy Patterson started at the weekend? No, sorry, he came on for Neil Cronin. And there you go. There's just another shit hot one there. So there's a long old road to get through, but he's young. He's young, looks cranky. He's that cranky look on his face. He's foxy, looks sour. He'd fucking hate you without salt, kind of a thing. So it's good to see it. By all accounts, he's just pure rugby Norse. He was ball boy, mascot. He's been everything. Essentially the same as Craig Case. Absolute out and out rugby to their core. Could not live without it. Talk about it. Dream about it. Make love to it. But he's the big deal that everybody's talking about. And you're scoring 2 tries regardless of who it's against. It's still something you got to do. And to ping the 2 of them. And he looks bossy, you know what I mean? So exciting things to come from the likes of Young Doak. Young Doak. It's a great name. But they should be baiting Benetton looked all over the fucking map the other day. And I was just watching it kind of going, Ulster should be baiting the bollocks off these. Do you know what I mean? They should be baiting the bollocks off these. Out the gap, they should be baiting these. No mercy. You have a load of youngsters there who are dynamite. Buddy Burns is playing out of his skin at the minute. You got forwards who are the size of trucks. They should be kicking the living shit out of them around the place. Simple as that. It's Benetton. I don't give a shit what they did or Zebra did during the fucking Rainbow Cup. I don't care. It's meant nothing. This is the real deal. They should be kicking the living shit out of them at home. No, no mercy. It's I'm not saying it's unacceptable, but at the same time, it's kind of unacceptable to be only in the 20s against the likes of Benetton. Because Benetton, they're at 6s and 7s all over the fucking shop themselves. You could see massive gaps opening up. Gilroy must have been shouting his fucking head off. As you could see, there was defensive gaps popping up all over the shop out his wing. So he must have been screaming his head off, going, "Get me the fucking ball. Get it out here." So grand, but not overly exciting. Like I said, should have kicked the living shit out of him. Didn't, but there you have it. And Connacht, for the love of Jesus, can we have a clean sweep, please? Connacht, classic Connacht. Last week they did what they did, kicking the bollocks out of the Bulls, and they go and play the fucking Dragons and lose to the Dragons because they're all over the shop. It's boys, can you stay in the zone? I know I was talking you up last week, your centre partnership. Jesus Christ almighty, there was just gaps fucking opening up everywhere. Yes, the Dragons have a couple of decent players, but at the same time, they go down 35-22. You know what I mean? They were ahead. They were ahead close to half-time, So what's letting you down? It isn't your fitness. Your defensive setup is all over the fucking map. Once it goes beyond second centre, it seemed to get real soft. There was one lad there, he ran around, Tom Daly, literally ran around him. That's completely unacceptable. I know he was quick, but unacceptable. There was nothing special in the pass he got. There was no dummies to throw your eye another way. You're one-on-one, floor him. Come up, meet him, floor him. Block off the fucking any visual lines where he thinks he can run around you. Fucking bone him on the spot. But for that annoyed me when I just saw he was number 15, I think, for Dragons, just running around a centre. Fuck that. There wasn't that much space, and you close out that space. There was a winger outside Tom Daly too. Their defence, their heart is there for sure. It is, but you're playing in Galway, lads. Yes, I know it's not piss and rain, which you love, but it was actually a really nice evening. You feel bad because you have a couple of unbelievable players, and I swear to God, I know Andy Friend's a lovely fella, it would seem. He's a friendly fella, say no more. But that defence at the weekend against fucking Dragons, of all things, It's unacceptable. But you know what? They'll swing around now next week. They play Munster next week and they'll swing around and be unreal because it just seems to be the Connacht way. They have no consistency to stick with the fucking program. They're like hot as shit against the Bulls, then go down to the Dragons at home. You know, are they going to be hot as shit against Munster? Who knows? I don't know what way Munster are going to be. They're going to obviously line out. I would imagine they'll line out fairly full noise because it's coming close to the end, I think, of this segment of games before they break for the international windows. I'm guessing they will. I'd be half tempted to, you know, I'm not in the coaching staff. They know what the long-term plan is for all this. You know, they've whatever amount of games. But you'd be nearly half tempted to put all them lads out that played at the weekend. They look that good. But Connacht just fucking, you know. Yeah, it was. Their fucking kicks were just loose too, like just fucking booting it. And like you have to, like when you're taking it upon yourself to be the kicker, i.e., you're either the out half, scrum half, maybe a centre, maybe a winger, maybe a fullback. You have to be thinking 2 steps ahead. Where's it going to go? I mean, that's what caught Munster at one stage. You know, chipped through, and against the run of play, Calvin Nash chips it through. 4G pitch, it fucking bounced in a gammy way, landed in, you know, the out half's hands, and he chips it through. Which I'd like to actually see that. I would have liked the ref to have a look at it again. I don't know how onside that try scorer was. Your man, he looked like 50. The lad who scored, he apparently played, I think, down New Zealand. I can't remember his name, but he looked fucking out. I mean, he still had the legs to get there and score a try, but he looked completely offside to me. But I wasn't there. Didn't make a difference to the result. But you know, fuck him. if you don't deserve a try, you don't deserve a try. But the loose old kicks, like it's grand. It's grand if you're absolutely going to bait somebody out the gate, like, but just unacceptable. And I know I'm saying it's classic that they'll come back and bounce back next week, but just keep it in fucking tight. If you don't trust what's going to happen, keep it in tight for a few phases. Get it out to fucking first centre, set it up, and just try and cut through the sides of them. They're not that big. It was Dragons, you know. They're not that big. I guess, you know, Bundyaki will make it back. Maybe shore it up, push Tom Daly out one, or go outside him. And, you know, shut down the centre, because I mean he's a lion now, a starting lion now, so he'll have, you know, he has that level of boss experience, and he's a fucking monster the size of him. So I'm guessing it'll start to shore up the centre a small bit, with the hope that Connacht can, because you want to see all the 4 provinces coming through. You know, I know people from other countries who listen to this now going, fuck off. But it's true. You want to see a game won at least on merit, and not the other crowd just fucking giving it away. I say that, like, you know, but Scarlett did. You know, they turned up with their trousers around their ankles at home in front of their own fans. But this particular one, of course, Mac Hansen, coolest fucking name in the Oak. He's class. He is class. What a find. And he wasn't just happy to dive in over the line. He stepped 3 players to get back in the way a bit to make the conversion better. Like, that's a fucking smart player. He's somebody to absolutely nurture. Get him as much of the ball as you possibly can in space. I would build a fucking game plan around that fella. Jesus, he's dynamite. I'll move on. And they play Munster next weekend. Leinster play Leinster play Scarlets next weekend, and Ulster. Who Ulster play? Oh Jesus, I should have looked up. I think did they play Ospreys? I did look it up at one point. I won't. It's there the weekend anyway. You'll see it yourselves. Moving on into the Premiership. And, you know, the first game, I watched the extended highlights of the first game. And it was the one I'd chosen that I wanted to watch. It was Harlequins against the Bristol Bears. And I was just going to give a brief overlook of all the, you know, as many of the rest of them as I had time to do. And if you watch that one, you're like, well, this is fucking amazing. The Premiership is the best in the world. But then you know, the rest of them do not live up to that level of amazingness. They don't. Before I do, the remainder of the results, it was Ospreys against the Sharks. It was, Sharks won 27-19. Chamberlain, man for the Sharks, just dropping goals for fun. I love it. I love to see good kicking, good quality kicking. just out of nowhere, turning the game, and it breaks people's spirits. Like, it breaks a team's spirit. They hoof it down. They think, oh, we're here, all in the defensive set. They're going to run back at us. Nah, your man just sticks a pin in your fucking balloon and just boom, hits it from the halfway mark. Holy shit. That's what Ben Healy needs to do now next, I think. Start pulling off a couple of those long range. He pulled off, I think it was 2 or 3. Was it 2 of them? The man Chamberlain for the Sharks anyway. So they ended up winning 27-19, which is, again, like I said, good for the competition. You're seeing these lads starting to get a small. They're away from home for a long time too. So it's great to see it. And Glasgow went down to Glasgow beat the Lions. They beat them only 13-9, so it wasn't a complete hockey and whatnot. And Edinburgh level with the Stormers. That was a good game. That wasn't a bad game now against the Stormers. And Cardiff went down to the Bulls. Bulls won 29-19. Just honourable mention there for your man Chamberlain, that I love to see it. I love to see amazing drop goals. Like Paul, oh Christ, why can't I think of his name? Oh, Paul. Australian, shaved head, looked like Earl's. I can't remember his name. And if you asked me 3 seconds prior to this, I guarantee I would have been able to think of his name. Paul Warwick used to pull off kicks like that. There was a match, I don't know who was it against. And I only watched it recently. Again, my brain is falling apart. You're trying to ram so much stuff into your brain. But again, I love it. I love to see it. But I watched... fucking Saracens against Newcastle, which finished up to 37-23, because you got to keep an eye on these lads, because we're going to be facing them. So you got to keep an eye on them to see what they're coming up with. And Saracens look fucking good. I was delighted for Mike Brown. A lot of people didn't really like Mike Brown, but I liked him. I liked him when he was playing for Harlequins and for England, because he was, I think he just didn't smile. Do you know what I mean? He didn't do anything with his hair. He shaved it, even though he had a full head of hair. And I think that just was disconcerting for people. Do you know when a fella has a full head of hair and he still decides, fucking, I'm shaving it all off? Do you know, because typically that's just to lads who just lost the hair or whatever. I'm not far off there myself. But like, I think that's kind of what I liked about him. There was no fuss. And he seems to be a nice enough fella. I've read a few interviews with him. He seems to be he can be a bit of not a troubled soul or whatever, but I think maybe a bit of a jarring character. But he was at Harlequins forever, and they just went, "Nah, we've nothing for you here." At the last minute, they kind of, and then the public outcry was so much that they kind of went, "Oh, here's a contract for a year," and it was pants apparently. So you went to Newcastle, and like that scored a try at the weekend. I was kind of happy for him, for a fella that get a, fella that got a bit of a dirty. Got a bit of a dirty in from a club that he, like, literally, I think they were naming the bar after him or something, like Mike Brown Bar or something like that. And then just decided, no, you're surplus to requirements now. Which is fair enough if he was shite. But he still looked class the weekend. His lines where he was picking were fucking spot on. Like, so also probably has a point to prove to the rest of the Premiership. But yeah, Saracens there again, 37-23. No joke. Like, I didn't think that was a yellow card for Maitland either. I thought, what the fuck? Like, it's just, Jesus Christ, they're gone a bit harsh here. But in my opinion, your man Brett Connors' stance over the ball. You wonder, like, the lads all tried to develop their own one, because this only came in a couple of years. It was years ago when Johnny Wilkinson started to actually, the amount of Johnnies that appeared, in the years following Johnny Wilkinson's arrival on the scene, the 5, 6, 7, and even 10 years after he emerged from the scene, the amount of Johnnies that actually popped up as out halves was unbelievable. I swear that he revolutionized the fucking name associated with it, with the position. I'm not joking with you. I played with 2 blokes who were John and Jonathan, and they called themselves Johnny, who were out halves. I swear to God. But he started the whole standing over the ball with the hands cupped and the fucking arse up in the air. Like, prior to that, it was just put it down, bang, gone. Or, all right, Neil Jenkins would build a funky sandcastle out in the middle of the field for some reason. And But for the most part, it was just put it down, give it a look, stand back, 3 back, 2 to the side, another look, bang. No crouching over it or anything. And he started all that. But your man at the weekend, Brett Connor, he was like, have a look at it. It's fucking weird. But yeah, it works for him. It works for him. That's actually, I know I'm kind of fucking singing Ben Healy's praises here, but I do love his style. He puts it down, stands back, throws a bit of grass in the air, bang. That's it. That's it. And he's able to kick it from 60 meters. There's something kind of badass, like when you don't have to do a load of the work that everybody else seems to have to do. You know, the fucking eyeball, the licking of the lips, the talking to yourself, the wipe of the forehead, the shuffle of the hips, the fucking twist of the shoulders. Like, you know, some of these other lads, you see, he just puts it down, gives it a look. That's it. That's it. Puts it down, a couple of steps back, gives it a look, and bang, gone. And typically gets it. I think he was on point for everything to weekend, but your man's one was like, what the fuck are you doing? Brett Connor. And I did watch London Irish versus Leicester. London Irish again. Jesus Christ, like, they can do no right. Like, they look class at points, and then they just keep fucking it up for themselves. Now, I know they were playing Leicester, but like, they had the beating of Leicester. They had the beating of them if they're a bit more pragmatic and a bit cuter about it. But unfortunately, they just didn't. They went down 26-21. It's just shit. You know, when it'll be one thing if you're getting bet out the gate every week, but they're not. They actually look good. And I suppose that's what makes the Premiership, I suppose, a shit hot thing, is that you can still look very good, be very good, have done very well, but you're still, if you're not a degree or two up, you're still going to get clipped at the weekend. And Leicester, for the first time in, I think, a decade or more, they've won 4 on the bounce now. 4 on the bounce. So, I mean, their jerseys are stink. I just got to say it. They're new. Those jerseys that they were wearing the other day stink. Rotten. A lot of jerseys this year not appealing. If they're not fucking littered in, you know, advertising, they're absolutely some of the designs that are going on. No. Go back to normal, please. Go back to Leicester, please. I know there's, like, London Irish are wearing that white jersey, so why? You know why? So yeah, 26-21, and then then I watched the Quins and Bristol Bears, and it's going to catch Quins out. It's going to catch them out doing what they were doing. They were down 24-7 at the halftime. 24-7 at the halftime, and they went on to win 52-24. Now, in saying that, Bristol fell apart like, you know, a wet fucking toilet paper on a windy day. Like, it was just not great out of them in the second half. But at the same time, like, and also there's certain things that the music I talked about in other ones, like music after every try, it's always a shit song or something. It's like, you don't need it. If your crowd were fucking anything like that, there was no fucking crowd at the Leicester Irish match either. And they're apparently letting full crowds in. Like, where the fuck are your people? I'm waiting to see Thomond at the weekend, and not even allowing a full crowd. But I guarantee it'll be fucking close to capacity. It'll be all tickets will be sold that are allowed to be sold. Like, where are your fans? But your man Harry Randall, the scrum half, there talking about scrum halves, he'll be next English scrum half. He looks to the manner born like. Yeah, she looks like a couple of UFC fighters. He kind of has that look like that the fellas in the flyweight division would have, the lightweight division would have. He has that fucking look like Henry fucking, what's his name? Is it Cejudo or Chuto? He kind of looks a bit like him. He looks like a scrapper, but he's shit hot. He'll be the next English scrum half. Has to be. I can't see anybody in the Premiership so far who would actually go toe to toe with him. He looks shit hot for me. And at the beginning, I thought, why are you counting the match? Like, it's almost like you got to be this hype man. You got to do this hype man thing for the crowd. It's like, how the fuck do they not know? The crowd should be the only hype needed. You know what I mean? What kind of fucking wishy-washy people are showing up to games and going, God, I don't know how to get excited really here. Do you? It must be just a ridiculous amount of corporate tickets just being given away. It must be. And just trying to create an atmosphere in amongst it. Because, like, the countdown before the kick, if I was the fucking kicker, I'd kick it on 2. Or kick it way after number 1. fuck all that. Nah, the prick in me just wouldn't have gone up. I'll take my time here. Gonna take my time. I will go to about -7 before I feel like kicking it. It's just not for me. But your man Marcus Smith, he, like I said, I love a couple of chip throughs. Now he's doing shit like Dermot Barron or fucking Jack O'Sullivan, just pegging it up the field or whatever, booting it with you. That fucker's doing things that just nobody has done before. He's playing 7/under-9s rugby with that much happiness. He's just doing whatever the fuck he wants. I love it. I love it. He looks so good doing it. Like, he just cool as shit. I think that was the hope for Joey. And I think possibly that, that could be, if he gets his confidence back, that could be where he's heading. Like, and that's what to be aiming for. And gets the ball, goes out left, goes, fuck this, nothing happening that way. Runs around the back. Most fellas would get creased in a tackle. Your man looks around the back. What he was doing was scanning for space behind and where he could run through a gap. So he just didn't talk about catching the rule book or catching any strategy book and fucking it out the window. Just go, I'll make this up as I go along. Goes out left, nothing for me out there. Runs back around the back of the ruck. A load of the big lads are just kind of looking around the back of him going, where the fuck is your man off to? Lads think they're getting it past. He's not passing to nobody. He's just scanning to see where the space is in behind all the players. Finds it, ping, little gammy kick over the top, sprints through onto the ball, scores a try. You're like, here, this fella's him. This fella's just, he's operating in that, that realm that fucking Neo was operating on in when he finally hit, figured out the Matrix. Like, he's just like, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want. Thank you very much. And now I'll score all your tries. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Marcus Smith. I mean, yes, he's going to be, he has to be the starting out half. Has to be the starting out half for England. And weirdly, I'm very excited for England to see what he will do. And I hope he's not hampered. Hope they just let him be the fucking lunatic he is. Because that's what he is. He's a madman. And I think that's where rugby seems to be going. Yes, there are fundamentals you have to stick with, but you kind of need the wildness, you know. And I think they understand a bit of showtime too. That's a big factor. Bit of showtime. We all want to see it. It's beautiful. Beautiful. That was the week's roundup from what I watched anyway in the way of rugby. Very, very excited. We're getting good. That's what's exciting me, is the rugby standard is getting good. Now the big... Obviously, I was saying that, the kick throughs are getting me very excited. Not enough moustaches. Can I just point that out? I would like to point out that right here on the video, that is the mullet of the week. It is, of course, from young Lina, playing for Harlequins. Got 2 tries at the weekend. Mullet, burgeoning mullet. His old man, of course, Lina, played for Australia, but his Lina lad, he knows what he's about. Take off the sides. Makes him quicker. That's the mullet of the week, is, of course, young Lina playing for Harlequins. But the clatter of the week came during the Osprey Sharks match. And I mean, I thought it was late for a second. But let's just sit back and have a look at this beauty. I don't think it's late. I don't think it's late. Oh, that is lovely. Let's have another look. So, I couldn't tell you who either one of these. Boom! Oh, jeez, even your man, like, your man's muscly, but even his muscly tits kind of flew up. So, essentially, like, there was a break up the field by the Sharks. Ball got fucking stolen, fell on the ground, stolen or whatever by the Ospreys. Swinging it out the back, and just as he was swinging it out the back, your man, I guess he's a centre, he's got a scrum cap on, just gets melted with a tackle. But you know what? When they showed it back, it looked absolutely perfect. So do go on over and look at the YouTube page. I'm going to stick it up in the next few days anyway, up on my Instagram, so you can actually have a gander at the clatter of the week. But it was, I should have really found out their name. Doesn't really matter. I don't care. I just want to see more of that good stuff. If the South Africans going to bring nothing, let them bring that level of physicality. Anyway, that has been the clatter of the week, and this has been Cracked Rugby. Now, we have a lovely weekend's rugby ahead of us with the autumn internationals just around the corner. And I can't wait to get my teeth into that. I hopefully, or may not, have a guest next week. To everybody who's gotten in contact, please continue to, if you disagree with me on any points, or if you go, hey, Tom, keep an eye out for this, or do, please message me on the whole thing. I'd absolutely fucking love to hear it. Until then, go handy now. I'll chat to you again next week. Good luck.